All right. I just traveled to another virtual vacation, this time on Jupiter's moon, Io. Um, I hope to see. We have a transit of Earth from Mars into 2084, and then we have a transit of Venus from Earth in 2117. I hope to see both of those. I'm not sure which one I'm more likely to see. I'm gonna guess I'm more likely to see the one in 2117. I still have a big fear of flying, even just on Earth. I mean, from flying on a plane from Seattle to Taiwan, I can kind of handle it, but I still get nervous and just having to deal with just all the craziness of flying. That's probably going to be even worse in terms of flying to Mars, where supplies are definitely much more limited. It's probably harder to bring foods that you like, depending on how long that trip is going to take, right? But either one will be fine. Maybe I'll make a virtual 2084 using the tools that I have here. Um, but this scene reminds me of the first time I ever went to the Wild Horses scenic overpass in Vantage, Washington. I had gotten into an argument with my girlfriend. She was living with her parents, and I was at her parents' home, and we got into a major argument. She hadn't been able to find me for a few days because I was writing a computer game. In 2016, I was competing in the AI for the Brain Teaser 2048. Oh, I don't know if you guys remember that. That's where you move the tiles to try to join them to make 2040 different powers of two. They actually go beyond 2048. My AI, if I remember correctly, could go to 65,536 on occasion. And I was writing a AI for competing in that at the Computer Olympiad, and I went all out. That was the first game I went ape shot crazy on writing. The other ones, they were just curiosities. That was the first really world championship level game that I ever wrote. And but she thought I was seeing another girl, and when I told her that the other girl was actually the computer games, that's the exact words that I used. It upset her even more because she thought that at least I had the sense to go out and meet another girl, but to treat a computer game almost like it's a girl, it just really upset her. And so I stormed out of their home, and I was so upset. I didn't want to go straight home. I wanted to just drive around viewing some scenery. It was not quite dark yet. It was still twilight, and I wanted to go see some scenery before heading home. Before I knew it, I was in Ellensburg, and I got lost, and I ended up in the Wild Horses rest stop where I recorded a video back on July 25th for that 1 day challenge. Um, I love going there every time to view events like the conjunctions. Tonight, actually, we have a conjunction of Jupiter with the moon. Nothing spectacular. I mean, we have one every month at least. So if you have a good enough camera and you zoom into Jupiter, sometimes you can see a number of moons surrounding Jupiter. Sometimes you can also see the rings of Saturn. On December 21st this year, Jupiter and Saturn come into conjunction. They only come into conjunction once every 20 years. Well, sometimes you have a conjunction season because the Earth moves a lot faster than either Jupiter or Saturn, and sometimes you can catch Jupiter and Saturn in conjunction multiple times over the course of a few months. I think 1981. It's apparently bad luck when that happens. So every time that has happened, we've had major wars. Or 81, we had Reagan's assassination attempt. I think 41 was the last time it happened. Before that, we had World War II. People think it's bad luck. Even just the conjunction itself is apparently bad luck enough. And if you have multiple ones, it's even worse. But what's really sad about this year is that we didn't go to Saturn. See, right now, I think the biggest rockets we have aren't capable of going directly to Saturn. Usually we have to fly past Jupiter, and so we only have an opportunity every 20 years. So we should have launched 3 years ago. See, Cassini launched in 1997, and Jupiter and Saturn were in conjunction in 2000. So 3 years before the conjunction. But then who knows? New Horizons was able to have a solar escape velocity even before it reached Jupiter. So it might be possible now. Obviously, your payload would be a whole lot lighter, so that might reduce how interesting it gets. The other thing we could have done was we could have sent Juno to Saturn. I don't know how much solar power it has, though. At one point, it was possible. I played around with it on the Kerbal Space Program using the parameters. What we had to do was Juno is flying over the poles of Jupiter, right? Juno literally stands for Juno near Jupiter, near polar orbit or something like that, right? So what it needed to do was at the far end of the orbit, it would need to fire its engines and become equatorial. And now it can fly past the moons of Jupiter and then leave the Jupiter system to go on to Saturn. And after that, it probably won't be able to capture into Saturn. It'll probably just be a flyby and then leave the solar system. But at least Juno would stay intact. We wouldn't have to burn it up in Jupiter's atmosphere. I don't know why. That feels a little bit better for me. Even though we'll probably never be able to communicate with it again after that. It still has a better feeling to me. But we missed the opportunity. The last time we could have done that was like a year ago. So whatever the case is. Anyways, I hope to, I'm going to do it virtually first, but I hope in 2084 I can update you guys on seeing the Earth come in between Mars and the sun. One of the first things I want to do the first time I travel into space is to zoom in on that vantage point in Ellensburg, just because of how much I view space from Ellensburg. I kind of want to do the reverse. I'm guessing in a few more years we'll be able to fly to just from one point to another on Earth through a rocket, and that's the first place I want to view.